Right, so we talk a lot about independent wrestling on the channel, more specifically bad and terrible independent wrestling, but one thing we don't talk about much is modern day indies. I've done a couple of videos on GCW and some of their worst shows, including one that took place this year that many would consider to be maybe the worst indie wrestling show of 2025, but let me tell you that the World on GCW 2025 from Hammerstein Ballroom is not the worst indie wrestling show of 2025, because I am reviewing the worst indie wrestling show of 2025 in this video and take a shot every time I have said the worst indie wrestling show of 2025. As in today's video, we are watching what I believe to be the most excruciating, painful and horrible indie show of all year that took place at WrestleCon earlier this year during WrestleMania weekend. If you don't know, every year during WrestleMania weekend, it's not just WWE that are putting on shows in the area for the week. All of the indie wrestling companies in the country, and some even from other sides of the world, come over to that area and put shows on all weekend. And there's also WrestleCon, which is the wrestling convention that a load of legends and current time wrestlers go to and do meet and greets and signings and sell merch. And there is also a super show they do every year on the WrestleCon lineup, and the one that took place this year got a lot of people talking for maybe the wrong reasons. So like the video, and today we are gonna go ahead and watch the WrestleCon show from 2025 and the worst indie wrestling show of 2025, so let's get into it. So I should first mention that WrestleCon's yearly super show that they do are done in tribute to the deceased Mark Hitchcock of High Spots, who, if you don't know, are a very huge influential part of independent wrestling, from selling DVDs to conducting interviews and merchandise and running shows. A huge part of the scene, and Mark Hitchcock was a huge part of that. As to open the show, we get some lucha as it's 10-man tag action. Arez, El Bendito, El Hijo de Calis Lupus, Latijo, and Toxin up against Aero Panther, Fight Panther Jr., Gravity, Spiderfly, and Vengador. Very sorry if I messed up any of those. Yeah, a very colourful opener here. This is what Lucha Libre is all about, baby, and I think the only people in this match I actually recognised were Gravity and Arez, who was El Clon in AEW. It's some decent fun lucha action that you'd expect for a 10-man opener, everyone getting their chance to shine, lots of multi-person spots and dives all over the place. I enjoyed this one, but I am a sucker for lucha, though I also am not the biggest fan of tags with about 10 people in it. It can be a bit overkill, but I think they did alright here, and the match surprisingly had a good slow build to it and worked its way up to a pacier final third. And it's Arez who gets the win for his team in an alright match. It was a decent 3-star contest and maybe the best match of the night. Oh boy. Then right after that, they then introduce former WWF announcer Sean Mooney, who then comes out and cuts a promo, and he's literally just plugging his upcoming panel that he's got coming up and wishes the fans a great time, and that's it. What a great use of runtime that was. Next up though is Ninja Mac versus Mascara Dorada, as we've got more high-flying lucha action coming up here. Ninja Mac went viral earlier this year during his work in the Best of the Super Juniors tournament for New Japan Pro Wrestling, so I thought to check up on what he's doing now, and it turns out he's in Juggalo Championship Wrestling now, and that kind of surprised me that's where he landed after such a viral run that he had in New Japan. This match though was a lot more of a technical contest that I thought it would be, obviously with some crazy high spots and high flying mixed in, but it was a lot slower and more methodical than I thought. There was some good mat and chain wrestling, and I thought it was an okay contest here. There's a cool spot where they fight on top of the stage and Mac is sent down the stairs. Like I said, I thought this match was okay, maybe just as good as the opener, but I can't really decide, as Dorada gets the W over Ninja Mac here. As next up is a Lucky 7 Sin City Scramble match. Every 2 minutes a new wrestler will enter in this 7-person match, and it becomes 1-4 to a finish when all 7 men have entered the match, as number 1 and 2 are Vaughn Vertigo and TJP respectively, who get this off to a nice decent start. 2 slick in-ring workers. Number 3 is super crazy. Okay, sure, hell yeah. He gets to work with some interesting holds, as number 4 is Mike DiVecchio, who is now a WWE NXT wrestler. He just recently debuted for them, and he shows some very impressive athleticism upon entering. As number 5 is one called Manders, as him and Mike start slapping meat, and there's a cool senton into a super kick spot with them and Von Vertigo. Number 6 is Cheeseburger, as these are all the announced entrants, and number 7 and the final entrant is a big surprise for all the crowd, as it's Danhausen, who gets probably the biggest reaction of the show so far, which really is no shock. He probably still is the biggest guy on the independent scene and the most popular guy on the indies, but they do all the curse BS with Danhausen. The match gets very gimmicky now that everyone, specifically Danhausen, is in here, and Danhausen, not too long after entering, does get the win as he puts a load of teeth in Vertigo's mouth, then pump kicks him, and yeah, that's how he gets the win. There was some decent stuff and spots as everyone was still entering and the match hadn't officially begun, but not really much happening overall, which made me think the match would step up once everyone was in it and it officially begun, but it kind of fell flat for me in the end. To be honest, it was a bit anticlimactic as Danhausen just came out and very quickly won after getting all his gimmicks crammed in there in just a couple of minutes. So yeah, not the biggest fan of that one in the end, but the next match on the show is Matt Mako versus Matt Riddle in the Battle of the Mats, as Matt Riddle has been popping up on the channel a lot recently, eh? And this match was quite an interesting one here. It's very MMA and submission centric, and surprisingly Mako gets a lot in here and at times really dominates Riddle here, which was kind of interesting to see and not really what I expected. However, the crowd are obviously very distracted throughout this match with their various mat chants and the mat off and mat forever and things like that. To be fair, it's probably the most active they've been all night, but at some point in this match, Mako is busted open and is leaking bad. I have no clue what caused it, but he is painted red. I really don't know how. And yeah, Matt Riddle really gets the win out of nowhere here with a Gotch-style tombstone, and I thought this match was pretty average. I thought they could have used the blood to do more and tell a further story, but it didn't really play into the match at all. It was just an average match, nothing special. I thought it did its job. But anyway, it's not the worst first 4 matches to start off the show. A pretty average and standard indie show so far, but it's these next 2 matches that completely destroy this show. As next up is Maki Ito versus Mickie James, a match I discussed on the channel very recently, in fact in my very last video. They do a tiny bit of work in this match, some holds and fundamental chain and mat wrestling for a couple of minutes before Mickie then rolls out the ring and grabs a mic, where she then cuts a promo in the middle of the match.
And we got a lot of guys and gals in the back, Maki, who are out here trying to get their 5-star notice. But I'll tell you what, Meltzer ain't never put me over, honey, and he ain't gonna do it tonight either, because I tell you what I do. I entertain. So I know you guys are gonna see a lot of wrestling this week.
So yeah, after talking about Dave Meltzer randomly for a couple of minutes, she then challenges Maki to a singing contest and asks the crowd if they want to see that, which they reluctantly cheer, and that's what we get for the next few minutes, and it's horrible.
I came all the way to Vegas to kick your ass, Maki.
Oh.
Hey, y'all gonna mop the floor with their stupid little pigtails and that little butt. I don't know.
Mickey is clearly making up her lyrics as she goes, the crowd are not liking this at all, it is just such an awkward moment that it seemed like Maki Ito wasn't even in on. But yeah, after that they get back to work and it's a slow and sloppy contest, and I can only guess that that entire thing was done to give Mickey some rest or fill some time, who knows, but Mickey James gets the win, and man oh man, what did I just watch? That got 14 minutes. 14 minutes on that match. Dorada versus Ninja Mac and the mat off got 9 minutes each. This got 14, and half of it was spent talking about Dave Meltzer and singing. There was hardly any wrestling involved in this match. It was an embarrassing match, an embarrassing watch, and it really shouldn't have been anywhere near this show. Yeah, this is one of the most panned matches of the year. It's got under 1 out of 10 on Cage Match. It very well could have been the worst match of the year, but surprisingly it isn't, because it's not even the worst match on this show, which is just an absolute horror sentence to say out loud and hear. No way anything could be worse than that, right? Wrong. It can be. As up next is Minoru Suzuki versus Butterbean. Yes, that's Butterbean, the boxer, the king of 4 rounds, the guy that knocked out Bart Gunn and ended his career, that Butterbean, in Big 2025. This match is clearly on the show for a special attraction. On paper, Minoru Suzuki versus Butterbean in 2025 alone sounds mad, but when you watch how they did the match, oh my word, what were they thinking with this? As this match is done in a rounds format, like it's a boxing match, and they're wrestling / half boxing at the same time, but nothing is really happening. They're just throwing half-hearted jabs and feints, and nothing is going on. They go round after round with nothing going on. Every now and then they'll get on the mat and do some groundwork, but it's nothing exciting or thrilling at all. And then they both get counted out at, I believe, the 3rd or 4th round, and the match just ends like that. And I don't really know what to say or show about this match, because truly there was nothing going on for so long. I think the best way to show you this match is to show you my actual reaction watching this match when I did on stream a couple of months ago.
All right, here we go. First round, because they're doing rounds in this match for whatever reason. Bart Gunn's WrestleMania opponent versus Murder Grandpa Real. But immediately, what is going on here? They're fighting like it's a boxing fight. Oh, throws a punch. Jab. There's no wrestling going on here. They're just standing back and forth, and they're just throwing punches, not selling anything. What is going on here, man? Commentator just said we're experiencing Aura and Riz. I'm not sure that's quite what we're experiencing right now, but sure, go off. They're in the corner now. Ref's trying to break it up. They're in the clinch. I don't know why I'm commentating like this, like it's a real boxing match. Anyway, second round beginning, and there's just taunts right out the gate. No actual wrestling, obviously. As finally round 2 begins, the timer has gone down to a minute, or down by a minute, but the bell has rung at 2 minutes, so I don't know if it's going to end after 2 minutes or 3 or what. Oh, and here we go. They're actually on the ground now. This is a boring match. Yes, very much so. With both these guys having MMA, this can be a lot more entertaining. I really don't think it could have been, because Butterbean can barely move, bro. 50 seconds. Cool. As it's just a loose submission that doesn't even look that strong. Yeah, 30 seconds. So they just did a 2-minute round without... They just cut a minute off while they just prepared themselves. They just did a 2-minute round. Are they really trying to save energy that much for Butterbean here? And I mean, this whole round has just been them on the floor doing crap submissions. I'm guessing they want to do a shoot wrestling match like the UWF days. Unfortunately, this match did not seem or look real in the slightest. I knew someone that was stoned watching this. I think I would need to be stoned if I was watching this, which I'm not now, which is maybe why I'm not enjoying it. Do I need to get stoned right now? Is that a thing? And here we go. Oh, they're scrapping now, I guess. Oh, Minoru Suzuki dropped. Wowee. Oh, Suzuki's outside the ring, which is apparently illegal, and he's bringing out... I heard Okada and Mega are watching this for inspiration ahead of Sunday. They should be, man. If they come out at All In Arlington and pull this out, 7 stars, I'm reckon. Dave's breaking his scale again. They're still fighting on the outside, which, despite the fact the commentator told me illegal, they can still just do, apparently. What? And they're just continuing to walk around the arena. Oh. The decision? So is it done? Get a grip. Double count out. After all that, there was no wrestling of any kind in that match. Butterbean wasn't in his prime when he was in his prime. Real.
By the way, more streams are coming soon for sure, so stay tuned for those. But after this finish, they teased the match continuing or restarting or whatever, which it didn't. So it was a dumb finish, but also, thank God they didn't continue on. Goodness me, that was bad. Why were fans in the crowd chanting for that match to be restarted and continue on after the count out? Trust me, you don't want to see any more. But yeah, luckily, at the very least, that match wasn't the main event, as up next is the main event, and it's 6-man tag team action. Flip Gordon, Hechicero, and Michael Oku along with Amira up against TMDK of Zack Sabre Jr., Shane Haste, and Bad Dude Tito. A star-studded 6-man tag main event with a whole load of recognizable names, and let me tell you, this was a nice palate cleanser. Honestly though, the match wasn't even that great. It was fine, it was decent, it was okay, but it was amplified and made even better because of the absolute awfulness that came right before it. Yeah, it's a long main event here, the longest of the show by far, going 20 plus minutes, and I thought everyone did their job here very well. ZSJ and Hechicero had some great moments together and had some good chemistry, with some good flying from Oku Gordon and the other TMDK lads. And like I said, following the last two matches, it was good, but in a vacuum, just reviewing this match alone, maybe I expected a little more. Like, it was fine, but this wasn't exactly the standout match of the night like I thought it was. It was around the same quality as the first two matches of the night, I would say. And TMDK do get the win here in a good final stretch, fair play, with everyone flying as Zack Sabre Jr. taps out Flip Gordon as the show comes to a close. What do I even say about that entire show, man? I guess for rating wise, I'd give it maybe a 3.25 to 3.5 out of 10, something like that. Around the 1.5 star mark, I would say. It would have been a pretty normal indie show if it weren't for those two matches. Everything on the show was average to watchable. It was a fine indie show that I probably would have paid no mind to had those two matches not taken place on it. Minoru Suzuki versus Butterbean and Mickie James versus Maki Ito were crimes to professional wrestling, and to be honest, shouldn't really be viewed by anyone. As well as that, the crowd were actually pretty dead throughout the show. The most active they were was for all the mat-related chants, which kind of tells you everything. But yeah, I can't imagine how they all must have felt after a long week of watching, probably days filled with wrestling every day, just to get to this WrestleCon show and have to watch Mickie James and Maki Ito have a sing-off and talk about Meltzer, and then watch whatever Suzuki versus Butterbean was. In a way, I kind of can't blame the crowd for being that dead. But yeah, I think that may go down as the worst indie wrestling show of 2025. In my opinion, that was worse than the GCW Hammerstein show. The GCW Hammerstein show had at least 1 or 2 matches that I walked away from satisfied and enjoyed watching, and at least a lot of the train wreck goings on in that show weren't in-ring related, whereas this, the biggest train wrecks of the show, were 2 of the matches themselves in their entirety. But yeah, that's about all my thoughts on this show, the WrestleCon Super Show from 2025. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree that this is the worst indie wrestling show of 2025, because if you disagree, then let me know what is, and maybe I'll check it out and watch it for a future video. Other than that, make sure to like and subscribe with notifications on so you never miss a video on the Top 10 Wrestling channel. I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye, and keep on rolling.